Press hockey coverage with Jim Biringer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is the Full Press NHL Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Biringer, voice of Full Press Hockey. I'm back alongside Dennis Bernstein. You can get him at the fourth period, along with the Hot Stove on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, Kings of the Pod as well. DB, what's going on, man?
JB, we're here finally. Couple of months off, and we're ready for opening night. So great to be with you on Full Press Podcast.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, hockey is back. We're ready to go. And the story of the summer, well, a couple stories of the summer. We'll get to all of them. But the big story of the summer, Connor McDavid. Was he going to sign? How long was he going to sign? Well, he finally signed. 2-year deal, $12.5 million AAV. Little surprising to you?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think on the term, certainly on the price, the AAV. But it just shows one thing. This guy wants to win. He knows the money's going to be there. And he's given them flexibility to go out next summer. And if you listen to Stan Bowman, I think the interview you want to listen to is the Stan Bowman interview he did for the Oilers website today. He says it gives us flexibility to do it now. That's the good news. The bad news is you got to make the right choices on the players you're going to add. So while there's certainly there'll be cap space next summer to do it, they're focused on winning now. And so was not surprised at the term, but certainly, I don't know how this is going to reset the market because Connor is one of one. Or I joke sometimes he's one of zero. This is a very unique situation. He even said it. There was never an ask, from the Oilers to Connor McDavid about how much he wanted to get paid. It was like, how are we going to improve the team? And they came in and said, look, we're comfortable with this number. Certainly if you're Bowman and Jackson, you're going to jump at it and say, of course we're going to sign you for this. But now, people thought the clock was starting last season when he's coming into his walk year. No, the clock starts now. He's got 3 years to win with Edmonton. If he doesn't, I don't see him staying there past the next this upcoming deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody heard reports were like, oh, maybe 4-year deal, $16 million, because then we had the Kaprizov deal coming in with Minnesota. He gets $17 million on AAV. You're like, oh, well, Connor can't take less than that. But as you said, DB, and he said it all summer long when you was talking about his interviews, winning. And he wants to win. You and I were both there at the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years. This guy looked heartbroken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He wants to win. He's so focused on winning. And he was 1 game and 2 games away from winning a championship. But if he does get it done in the next 3 seasons, then he can leave. I think part of it is the loyalty to the Edmonton Oilers, to the fans, to the community, about not getting the job done. The job isn't finished in Edmonton. He hasn't won. But if he does win, had he won in the last 2 seasons, maybe we're having a different conversation right now. Maybe Connor does play his contract out because then he doesn't think he owes it because he completed the job. So yeah, he's heartbroken. He's focused on winning. And I think the argument doesn't sound like, it just sounds like there's a lot of conversation. If you're Connor right now in the moment, even into next summer, where are you going to go that's a better situation to win? I know that people say, you could go here, could come here to LA, maybe to Toronto. Look, the Oilers were the second best team the last 2 years. And the best team, their best player just got hurt. So, and probably is going to miss the season. So I have no problem with this thing. I always thought he would stay in Los Angeles. I know some people here in LA thought it'd be a natural thing, but it's not a natural thing. Next 3 seasons there, but they better win if they want to keep Connor long in the next 3 seasons.
You mentioned Bowman before, and you bring up a good point. This just come into my head. His tenure before he took this job, his moves, and right now his moves with Edmonton, outside the Jake Wallman deal, because as you mentioned, and I'll link it down below in the comments, your quotes on TSN 690 on Friday, a $7 million deal now with a rising cap is not going to kill a team if the player underperforms. Back, COVID flat cap days or years ago, it would have. But Bowman's got to make the right moves, and it starts between the pipes, no?
Yeah, well, it does. But I brought up one thing, though. If Mattias Ekholm was healthy last year, maybe they win it all. Maybe there's more shot suppression from that team, and maybe that you're not counting on a Skinner or Pickett to make a bigger saves. Now, the goaltending wasn't good. It was second best. But again, you've had a $10 million goaltender in the net against you. So do I think something happened? Well, they picked up Connor Ingram on waivers, and maybe he's their Aiden Hill. Maybe that's the guy that they need down the stretch, because I'm sure these 2 guys will be on a short leash. You can argue that they didn't lose it because of goaltending, but JB, I was there. I was at all the games. Some of those goals that late in the series couldn't go in, and they went in. So that's going to be a question if this goaltending is good enough, because the rest of the team it's going to be different. It's definitely going to be a younger team. With guys like Savoy and Howard, can they break through? But it's still a very dangerous team that really doesn't care about where they. And remember, the 2-3 seeds last year in the divisions got to the Cup final. So you can say, oh well, they got to. No, they're playing for game 83 and beyond. Right? It's still a very good team with Connor and Leon. They're going to be a dangerous team, but yeah, there's going to be some question marks. And I think one of them is, would you use that cap space at some point to get a better goaltender in place? Because right now that appears to be the weak link for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, and then obviously not only Matthias Ekholm, but Zach Hyman up front too. That was a major loss for the Edmonton Oilers.
Sure.
Let's see a healthy Zach Hyman, if he can stay healthy. And again, they lost a lot of depth over the last 2 off seasons. And we'll see if they can get back and make a deep run in the Western Conference. And hopefully, if your LA Kings don't see them again.
Yeah, I think there's some serious fatigue with the Edmonton Oilers. But, there's some guys in the room, I think, like Drew Doughty, I think they'd love another shot because you know what? They feel they had that team last year. They really did. Even talking to Drew today about, why this team is better equipped to win this now than last April. He goes, because we can roll 4 lines and 3 pairs, and people know Jim Hillard played a really short bench in the Edmonton series, starting with game 3, and I want to burn him, right? So I think that people would rather see. But here's the thing, JB, would you rather see Colorado or Vegas or Winnipeg in the playoffs? I'm like, maybe Winnipeg because of the goaltending, but is that going to be any better or Dallas? Like Dallas beat the Kings clock all the time. So careful what you wish for sometimes. But sure, I think the fans would like a break from the Edmonton series.
Let's get back to the main point. It's a good laugh for everybody here because you and I had discussed it back when the Kings lost about everything there. But I just want to bring it back to the implications on the remaining free agents. Sure. Obviously, the big guy in LA, Adrian Kempe, but we also have Jack Eichel still out there, Kyle Connor. What is Connor taking a lower AAV mean for those guys?
I don't think it moves the market more. I think what moves the market more is the Kaprizov deal. And especially, and the 2 deals, and they're not forwards, but when Jackson LaCombe gets $9 million, had one really good season, and look, he's going to be a great player, and Luke Hughes gets $9 million, that's what moves the market. So I don't think the King can go to Adrian Kempe and say, well, Connor McDavid took 12.5, so you need to take 10.5 or 10. Right? So I don't think it resets the market. I really don't. I think everything's going up because agents aren't dumb. Players aren't dumb. They see the cap going to 113 in a couple of years. There's space there, right? And Adrian Kempe is the best player on the team right now. It's better. Drew's the highest paid at $11 million per. You got to play $10.5, $11 million. So I don't think it moves the market because it's so unique, right? You had a negotiation where Bowman said, we didn't even negotiate about money. We had a lot of conversations over the last month to 6 weeks with Judd Moldover, who's the lead agent at Wasserman, about Connor. And none of it was about money. Because here's the thing, JB, I think these players also are sharp enough to realize the money's going to be there now. It's not a flat cap. Like you mentioned, 3 years ago, you couldn't trade for a $5 million player because of the flat cap. Now, it's easy. It's going to be easy to fit these players in. So I think that there's going to be a resetting of the market. There already has been because these younger players are getting more money than I thought that they deserve. Like what Lane Hutson going to get. Is Lane going to get over 10.5 when you already paid Dobson $9 million? So it's going to be really interesting. So there's certainly an elevation in what's going to be paid for these players. I don't think that Connor's contract brings that back down. We're saying, okay, now it's another reset of the market. It's so unique. I don't think it's a reset for the market.
So, like you were saying, the young guys, right? Like LaCombe and Hughes get $9 million. We heard JJ Moser, reports are, or not JJ Moser, Logan Cooley turning down $77 million. Like, all right, he's looking for 10. He wants more money. All these guys are looking for money. And, you look at it, you mentioned Lane Hutson. My feeling has always been since the trade, $10 million player for what he did. I mean, you look at the market now. I mean, the market's been set, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, he won the Calder. Yeah, so and I think some GMs have to adjust to that. And again, Jimmy, here's the other thing. Will every team spend to 113 in 2 years? I don't know, because here's the thing. I know the Oilers are looking, and they asked Bowen about this, about building the team. He goes, look, we're worried about winning this year, right? It's not the case for these other teams. Like, what are you going to be able to do with these players at 113? So you can pay a guy 10, but you can also trade for a guy like Pittsburgh's going to stink this year, right? I think everybody realizes that. It's a bad team. Like they just got a press release out. They have 9 guys making the debuts as a Pittsburgh Penguin tomorrow or Wednesday against the Rangers. That's a lot of players. Right? So they're going to be so a guy like Brian Rust or a guy like Ricardo Kell who's making $5-6 million. That's easy. It's easy now. Like 2 years ago, JB, it wasn't easy. Now it's easy all of a sudden because people see that. So I think it's great for the players. I think it's great for the league. I don't begrudge them a dime. It's just that a lot of guys are getting paid early because I guess you think if you're Pat Verbeek or you're Tom Fitzgerald, you're saying, okay, if I can lock Luke in or Jackson in at 9, it's going to be a bargain deal. Not unlike, I'll give you an example in LA. LA could go out and be aggressive in the free agency market next year because you know what? Clinton Byfield's making $6.5 million a year. So even with Kempe at 11 and Drew at 11, you can go out and be more aggressive this year. So I think that as bad as this offseason was, and it was a bad one because a lot of guys stayed home, and other than Marner and, say, Nikolai Ehlers, there wasn't a lot of movement. I think you can see that, okay, we can be more aggressive here. So it's going to be really interesting to see if every team gets to go to spend the 113 or there'll be internal budgets because some owners can say, hey, we can't afford to have a payroll over, let's say, 100 or 105 million.
And one more on that. Do you think the new playoff cap is going to implicate guys and salaries moving forward, or who's in and out of the lineup come playoff time?
Yeah, I think it might affect the trade deadline. I don't think it would affect the offseason because if you're going to pull a trigger on a guy, you got to say, hey, by the way, we got to be compliant in the playoffs. So I think that's where it comes in. So the deals that you see right now, where if a guy's in injured reserve, he could do it. Well, now it's changed. So I think it may affect the trade deadline. Maybe the bigger deals come in the offseason when you're looking at a bigger landscape with respect to your team and your salary cap issues.
And then on the offseason for you, DB, I know you said there could potentially be some movement, but as we saw this last year, and I heard this a lot in the offseason from GMs now, and even I just heard it recently on SiriusXM, your home for the hot stove. They were saying, you know what, even with the higher salary cap, the unknown factor of a guy coming in is maybe too high, and they're going to stay with the known factor of their own guy. Could you see more guys just staying at home? Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. The best free agent goalie was Jake Allen. He stayed home. He stayed in New Jersey. Right. So I think that's the issue. So when we see, the cap's going to go to 113, it's going to be a free agent frenzy. No, it's the same 113 for guys who are homegrown. Right. So I think that guys like Kyle Connor and Adrian Kempe and Jack Eichel, I think they'll wind up staying. What happens, JB, because it is expanding and because players know the money is going to be there, now I think they're going to be more like Connor McDavid and saying, you know what? Do I want to win? What can I do? Is this team, is this organization? Now, I don't think that's the case with Kaprizov. Because they offered Kaprizov $16 million, and if he really wanted to take it, he could have taken it. But he waited and got an extra $1 million. So I question if that player is all about winning. I really am. I mean, he's the best player. I get it. He deserves it. They think he's worth it. And to the Minnesota Wild, because you look at the rest of the roster, they need to pay him that money. They couldn't afford him to let him walk. But I think it is going to change. I think more players are going to say, okay, if I really want to win, then maybe take a couple $1 million less, do like Connor did, to build a team around me that's more capable of winning.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And speaking of winning, a guy for a very long time, going to call it a career, Anze Koptiar at the end of this season, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. I saw him in New Jersey firsthand, 2012. Guy is unbelievable, one of my favorite players to watch. I try to emulate his game. I cannot do it on the ice. He's just a great two-way defenseman. I don't try. No, I don't try. Exactly, DB. Your thoughts on his career and, the final season for LA?
Well, the Kings have had a lot of great players, like Wayne Gretzky. Although you identify Wayne Gretzky with the Edmonton Oilers, right? Because he won all the cups there. Didn't win in Los Angeles. Luc Robitaille, the greatest scoring left wing in the NHL. Yeah, Marcel Dion had a great run for 10 years here and scored 125, 130 points. But he's the greatest King, without question. He's going to play 20 years. Like, he's going to set the record for points, going to set the record for games played. He's won 2 championships. He's done everything you can do as a player. The one difference between him and Dustin Brown is Dustin didn't announce his retirement until right before the playoffs started a couple seasons ago. Kopi's made up his mind. He's made his decision. I never thought he would play past this season, to be honest with you. When he signed a 2-year deal, I figured, okay, that's it, 2 years. Maybe there was thoughts about it last season, but now it's time. There's nothing more for him to play for other than take a victory lap, maybe win a 3rd cup, even though the Kings aren't one of the heavy favorites this season coming in. But it's been a pleasure, a privilege to cover him, consider him a friend over the years. Been with his home, but hung out with his family. So he is certainly, and he'll have a statue like Dustin Brown does outside Crypto.com Arena when his days are over. But it's going to be bittersweet for him, I'm sure, because he loves the game, he loves playing. And he can still compete, JB. He's still, a 70-point player for this team that has his eyes on finally making some noise in the playoffs.
And with Koptiar, is he going to have a diminished role this year or not? Do they need Byfield to take a step this year to be that 1C for them?
I think at worst case, I think what would happen best case for the Kings, if Quentin Byfield was the high scoring center on the team and Kopi was a 2C, be one hell of a 2C, right, JB? I mean, that's what you want. So I don't think there'll be much regression with respect to his point total, but you need Quentin Byfield to take that next step, to be that 1C, to play 21 minutes a night like he does. And Quentin's been better. He can play on the penalty kill now. He's much better defensively. He's really driving play on his line. He's playing with very capable players, and Kevin Fiala, who scored 35 goals, and Alex Laferriere on the other side, who should get 20 to 25 goals. So would it be great if someone else other than Koptiar, and last year it was Kempe, lead this team in scoring? Yes, that's what they need. But to have Anze Koptiar at a 2C, if Quentin Byfield does elevate to a 1C, and Phil Deneau is a 3C, look, as great as Vegas has that, and they do, because they can go, they go Eichel, Hurdle, William Karlsson. You got William Karlsson and Mark Stone and Riley Smith as your third line. JB, that's a pretty good damn third. That's first line on some teams. So it's going to be a privilege and a pleasure to see Kopi in his last season. He'll take his victory lap, and then he'll go back to Slovenia with the family, live on the lake, and enjoy his retirement.
Do we think, I know it's early projections, but do we think jersey retirement next year potentially?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, easy. Yep. First ballot Hall of Fame. Because again, remember, the Hall of Fame is not just NHL, it's international hockey, and he's obviously the greatest player ever come out of Slovenia as well. So jersey retirement early next season, and certainly in the induction to the Hall of Fame when he's eligible to become named to that great body of players.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the one final ride one last time. I know you're a big WWE guy like John Cena, so I got to use that I've been using it for Marc-Andre Fleury. Real quick, I know I was going to sign off real quick. Thoughts on Fleury in Pittsburgh, even though it was a preseason game, how great was that to see?
Some people thought it was campy. I thought it was great. He's so connected to that franchise. People love him, and people showed up and showed out for him. And he wanted to do it. So I think a player determines how he wants to go out, and this is the way he wanted to go out. So nothing but respect for Marc-Andre Fleury. He's, he got to pull his pranks on his old teammates and stuff like that, which is great to see. I think it was great video content. And so the one-day contract, some people don't like those notions, but I think it was really cool and great that he was able to play one more game, even though it was an exhibition game, in a Pittsburgh Penguins uniform.
Guys, Dennis Bernstein here, the fourth period, Sirius XM, TFP Hot Stove. That's must listen on Saturday. Kings of the Pod. DB, thank you so much for doing this on short notice.
Yeah, it's never bad talking with you, JB. It's always a lot of fun and a lot of pleasure. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
This has been the Full Press NHL Podcast with Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period, Sirius XM NHL Network Radio's Hot Stove, as well as Kings of the Pod. Please get this up on YouTube. Like, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and we'll be back again real soon. Take care and enjoy the new hockey season.
Full Press Hockey Coverage with Jim Biringer.